What's that?
What did I just do? That was stupid. What the hell's wrong with me? I don't think
Hey, Dan. Hey,
Oh,
hey, Alyssa. How are you?
hey, how's it going?
How's it going, Dan?
Oh, pretty good, pretty good. You got me there. Yep. I got my audio on. Yeah, I guess we're got three people here. That's a good start.
Good.
Hmm. So where are you there? That your upstairs bedroom or something? Or
Yeah. Well, I've got the kitchen project going on.
right. How's that coming?
Well, yesterday was the last day of the contractor being here until
Mhm.
February 25th.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, I'm looking terrible. Hold on.
Yeah, there was something going on with your video
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
that's better. February 24th is when the countertops are installed. And
Okay.
then February 25th is when the contractor comes back and finishes everything. The tile backsplash.
Oh, okay. So is it delayed because you're waiting for the counters, or is that what it is? Or
Yes. So we had to book 4 weeks out for the appointment to template. So that was January 23rd, that
Mhm.
appointment. And then normally it takes about 6 weeks, but ours is going to be installed in 5 weeks after
Okay. Yeah.
a week early.
All right.
And that's bad.
These things always take time, you know.
It does look good. It looks really good.
Oh, you'll be very happy when it's done, I'm sure. The little bit I saw of it on Facebook looked really nice. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
like you were going to have a nice setup there.
thanks. No, it's well, you only do it once as far as I'm concerned. I'm not doing this.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But at least now we have use of the refrigerator and the microwave in the
Okay.
So,
All right, that's important.
no dishwasher though, no sink, no stove though until the 25th.
Hmm. Hmm. So, you eat out a lot, I guess. Or
I'm getting pretty handy with the hot plate and
yeah.
the panini maker and the griddler.
Okay.
We're making do.
Oh, good. Roughing it
Yes.
roughing it in the 21st century. There you go.
We got Helen. Hi, Helen. Hi, Tabora. Thanks for joining us. Hi.
There. Hello.
How are you, Tabora? Good to see you. Hi,
I'm
Helen.
pretty good to see you as well.
Yep, I'm coming live from my bedroom. I'm usually in my office. But
I'm live from my bedroom as well.
my cat might come and visit.
Oh,
Tabor,
how
have
horrible.
there been any West Hill Neighborhood Association meetings? I haven't gotten notice of any.
We had January, we had one scheduled. It was snowed out.
Okay,
She was supposed to send out a invite. We have some things that's changing for next month as well because our secretary has been sick
okay.
for about 2 months. So we're
Okay.
going to be
Yeah,
changing.
I
up a
haven't
few
heard,
things.
I haven't heard anything in a couple months, so I just wanted to check and see if it was still happening.
Yes, they were in person. So we were doing in person Zoom meetings at the library. In
Uh-huh.
February, I'm gonna be taking over from the secretary duties, just getting the invites out, making sure everyone who's on our email list can still get the emails, because everyone that don't really participate through the emails, they just get the letters brung to their doors. They participated. And we had to cancel because we was dealing with the snow. So,
Okay.
but I'll definitely make sure I reach out to you for February's meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Michelle. Hi, Michelle. How are you today?
Hey, Zach. Oh, good. Nice to see
ya.
everybody.
Good to see you. Sergeant Britt, thank you for joining us, sir.
Hi, Michelle. Nice to see you.
How's it going, Deborah?
Pretty
I got that
good.
nice thank you note. That was nice.
Thank
Yes,
you, thank you.
very much. Thank you very much. I have, I think I have mine right here. Yes, I do. Thank you very much, Dr. Block team.
Mhm.
Thank you, guys. You guys really made that possible, so thank you.
How many projects did you end up doing in the first year, Tabor, do you know? Oh, you're muted, Tabor. You're muted.
Apologize. So we did about 8 grant funded projects, and then we helped out with other projects that we just tried to coordinate around no funds. So about 8 we did. We did 8 projects, and then we did 8 repairs. So altogether about 16.
That's great.
So the projects that were funded, did they actually get completed?
We have one project that didn't receive paint, which was building blocks. No, a block at a time. So Miss Betty Smith didn't receive her paint on her house. That was the last. We had some issues with getting the funding at the very end. Just finishing up most of the projects, and her project wasn't one that we chose to fund, but because we had extra paint, we agreed that we would, go in and do that. So we're gonna wait for the weather to break, and we're gonna go back around and make sure we paint her house for her. So everything that was funded, that we had chosen for funding, we were able to complete all of those projects.
Mhm.
We've got Ray Moran. Hi, Ray. Hi, Ray. How are you tonight? Audio issues.
He's mute.
Ray, you there?
He's mute.
Maybe he's having audio issues, Ray. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Good evening.
How are you? There you are, Ray. How are you?
Pretty good. I had a little trouble getting my speakers working, but we're good.
All right. Just give it another couple of moments here, everybody. Hey, Michelle, when's your next meeting?
It's gonna be Wednesday, February 15th. We're doing it on Wednesday rather than Tuesday because the other was Valentine's Day and some people had plans. So we're gonna do it Wednesday this month.
Is that going to be virtual, in person?
Yeah, yes, it is. It's gonna be Zoom. Yep.
Hey guys, Rob Morton here.
Hey, Rob, how are you tonight?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Not too bad, not too bad. Just letting the room fill up a little bit more here. Is it Katie Carroll? Katie Carroll? Hi.
Hi there, good evening.
How are you?
I'm all right, thanks.
And which neighborhood are you with, Ms. Carroll?
I think I'm considered Pine Hills.
Oh,
I know.
great. Super. You got Officer Webster. APD. Good to see you, sir. Got Maura. Hi, Maura.
Hello,
Good to see you.
lovely to see you. Anybody made a joke about the weather yet or no? Should I jump in and do that?
Sure,
Talk
what's up?
about how cold it is, or did somebody already beat me to it?
Go for it.
Oh my God, it stinks out there. It's freezing. All right, I'm done.
Well, I work from home, so I haven't even been outside yet.
Oh,
Nice-
I haven't had to be out except to walk the dogs. I'm just whining for whining's sake. I have no valid reason to actually whine.
But we've
Who's
got to go
actually-
outside to see the comet later.
Is
Those are
that tonight?
Tonight in the cold.
Wow, what time should we be looking for that?
I've got to look that. You're reminding me that I need to look it up. I'm not sure.
All right. Is it going to be spectacular enough to like,
It's not going to be
Frostbite?
spectacular, but you can say you saw something that only happens once every 50,000 years or something. It's going to be a little. Do you remember what was the other one, the one that was hung around all winter one year? It's just going to be like that, a little blur in the sky.
wow, 50,000 years, huh?
Who can you tell, right?
Last chance.
I will look it up.
Oh, perfect.
Will we be able to see it with the Albany lights or no? Because sometimes you can't see that stuff. It's too. Our
But
skies
when
are
I
too
was
bright.
out earlier to get the mail, it seems like the sky is very, very clear.
Okay. Okay, good.
Okay, why don't we get the meeting started, everybody? 6:33. Thanks for coming to the February 1st, 2023 Council of Albany Neighborhood Associations meeting. We do have a couple of items on the agenda tonight. We're going to be looking at our bylaw amendments and talking a little bit more about the roles and responsibilities of our soon-to-be management board. Before we do that, though, we do see some members of the Albany Police Department on. Officer Webster, did you have a APD city update?
Has risen to it.
Hey, Zach. I don't really have too much. We are enjoying the benefits of the winter month right now. And not that we don't have things going on, because we do, but statistically, I don't really have too much just yet. We're definitely getting the car stolen, though, and passed through all to your neighborhoods. We can't say it enough. I mean, cars are getting stolen with people leaving running unattended. I don't understand going into the store to leave your car on to keep it warm for 5 minutes and then it's gone. So that's one of the biggest issues we're having right now, stolen cars. But other than that, I don't have too much to report. We have, so we're canvassing right now for the last test that we had for new employees, because we're still running about 60 or 70 short. So this, we got PT tests coming up in a couple weeks. So we're hoping to get a big class in May. Hopefully by this time next year, we're fully, maybe not fully staffed, but a little bit better than where we are right now. So that's our hope and goal right now. So that's what we got going on.
Okay. Was there something I saw about mail being stolen out of mailboxes recently?
Yeah, I saw something about that too, Zach. I don't know if that's any specific neighborhood per se. I guess I would have to look into that to be 100% sure, but that is something that we put out on our website. So we must have gotten a lot of reports for that.
Yeah,
Which is crazy to me. Like, you understand the package stealing, and it's usually around Christmas time. People snatch packages, but just taking mail, it's kind of random.
Right. Does anybody have any questions for Albany Police? All right. Well, Officer Webster, not too many questions. I guess you're all set.
Things must be going well. I will not press my luck.
Deborah, do you have your hand up though?
I do. Hi, Officer Webster, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I have a question about the West Hill neighborhood during the springtime. Are you guys in rotation about the 2nd Street corridor community? I know we had conversations with the chief about some of the violence around the makeshift memorial that's up on 2nd Street corridor.
Mm-hmm.
Were you guys having or putting together some type of action plan to kind of mitigate that spring and summertime action that normally takes place in that, on that block?
Well, I will say this, it's above my pay grade, those decisions, but I will say that that is something that we're always looking into, especially in the hot crime areas, and high activity areas. So yes, that is always something we're working on. We do give details. We have extra manpower for those spots that are seeing more violence than others. We're hoping it doesn't happen, but unfortunately, we have to live in the real world. Things do happen. So yes, I'm certain that is something that the department is always planning on. That's something that our chiefs always have to focus on in our command staff. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, I thought I saw something else about the chief. Does he have a podcast going on now? I thought I saw something on Facebook.
Yes, he has a podcast he's doing. I don't know how often. I think it's his goal is just to have the community be able to hear more inside stuff about the going on of the department and its officers. So that is something he is taken on. I haven't listened to it yet, but maybe some of the other officers on the call have. But it seems to be pretty popular.
What's it called?
I'll have to dig that up.
I can-
I'll get the link and I'll get the link and I'll send it. I'll put it on the chat.
It's called the Chief's Corner, and it's when he posts new episodes, he'll be posting on the Facebook. He only has one episode out right now, but I think he'd be doing them bi-weekly or monthly. So he's just getting started.
Okay, that'd be something good to
Good to
share.
know.
That'd be good to share with CANA members too. You know.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
I do know he's going to be interviewing officers, but I know he wants to interview people in the community as well. So I'm sure if we'll probably be reaching out to anyone that's interested in the near future.
Okay. Oh, great. Very good. All right. Any other questions for Albany, please? All right. All right. Thank you very much, officers, as always, for updating us. We really appreciate it.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Zach.
Thank you. Hi, Riley. Good to see you. All right.
Hey.
So good to see you. So the first item up tonight is the bylaw amendments. Did everybody get a chance to review the draft bylaw amendments? Has anybody not reviewed them?
I've looked them over quickly.
Okay. Does everybody want to go through the amendments, maybe?
Do you want to, Zach, do you want to, I mean, one of the issues was just the number of people on a managing board. Do we need to discuss that, or is that?
Yeah, so at our last meeting, we had 10 potential prospective members of our new management board. Since that time, one of the members did indicate that they wanted to withdraw their name from consideration, just due to not having the strongest technical ability to assist with some of the tasks that we've identified. So out of respect, that's okay. So we are down to 9 at the moment. And I know that 10 was our goal in the bylaws. So I guess the question is, should we further amend the draft to accommodate this 9-member situation we're in?
I think 9 is okay. And I sort of like the odd number also, just in case we need a tie-breaking kind of vote.
So you think set it in the bylaws as 9, or do we?
Zach, how many associations are members, or how many organizations are members
Of the management
of CANA? Because they did say, they were talking about not having people from the same organization, et cetera. So I'm trying to think, what's the population we're drawing these leaders from? How many organizations?
So 9 for the 9 board members. As far as members of CANA, I think last year there was 22 dues paying members of CANA.
Okay, so it's about half the, well, no.
A little less than
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, about half of the membership. Okay.
Certainly more than a third.
I think at this point, I do feel like we cast the net fairly wide in terms of people, trying to encourage involvement on a managing board, and what we have now is the 9. So can I just do this? Can I propose that we say that the bylaws specify 8 to 10 people? With the idea that we would,
Just trying
or
to
maybe
find,
even 8 to 12 people, with the idea that we would encourage wide involvement, and then call it a bylaw at that.
That sounds fine.
everybody can see the amendments here.
Yeah.
Now,
I like the idea.
the other point of information, Zach, before we start amending, this is the first hearing for these bylaws out of 3, is that right? This is the introduction, and then the next one is the discussion, and then the last one is the vote?
No, we introduced what needed to be amended last time. This is a discussion of the amendments. And then we
Yeah, but
vote.
we did not have the bylaws in front of us.
Right, so we did introduce what needed to be amended. Remember that we had the memorandum last time? And then the amendments went out for review. And now we discuss them. And we could further amend them at this meeting, right?
That was my understanding.
Right.
So should we just work through the red print here, or what's our plan?
Then we would send them out. If we amend it at all, we'll send it out again, and then we would, vote on it the next meeting, like a 3-step. Oops. My video's all screwed.
There's a quorum for management committee membership. Is there a quorum for the members voting on the bylaws?
At the next meeting, so I guess there's 22, so there would have to be at least. There would have to at least be a quorum at the voting meting.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Is there a quorum? I didn't see it when I was looking. I did read it. I did do my homework, but I forgot.
Let me see here.
Just so we know what our mission is next time. The only place I saw a reference was for the management group.
Okay. Management board. Let me just. For some reason my picture's all weird, sorry. And let's see here. I don't know if it says anything. Does it say anything about there's a 2/3 vote for removal? I don't know. Majority vote of delegates present, so a majority. So if we got 22 neighborhoods, I mean, as long as 11, I would say, or 12 is on, I think would that be a majority?
Of the delegates. So
Based on, yeah.
they say you can have 3 delegates from each place, so yeah.
Yeah.
So does that mean we can just say that when it comes time to vote on them, can we, I mean, I feel like just from a realistic standpoint, can we just say whoever comes? I mean, that's a good enough for a forum, isn't it? I mean, you know what I mean? It's just like, I feel like,
Go ahead.
I don't want to make it more complicated than it already is.
Well, I'm only asking that because, we had a very small number of people at the beginning of tonight, so.
Yeah, good point.
If there's a snowstorm next time, I want to know, if we.
It'll be virtual, so. We're still virtual. Yeah, we're not acting on tonight. We are, if anybody has any further suggested amendments, we can certainly add them.
So
Did
does,
anybody-
does that resolve Pat's question though?
Yeah, I think just a majority of delegates, right?
All right. And by delegates, you mean people present?
Well, it's
Right.
confusing. I hadn't really thought about each of the neighborhood associations having delegates. I don't think I'm a delegate, so I would just be here out of interest.
Yes, and I had that same thought too, because, you know, Eagle Hill is defunct. So I'm not a delegate.
Okay, majority of votes present shall be.
Yeah, so if we're talking about the majority of the delegates, I think we'd have to know who the delegates are.
Right.
Plan B would be to take that line out.
We could just
Well,
take it out.
it is, I think it is throughout, I think it's the one of the organizing principles throughout. It's in there a few times.
What, the majority of?
No, the
majority-
use of delegates.
Zach, can you do Command F and put delegates in and see how many times it turns up?
I know, let me see here.
Yeah, and I want to commend the folks who did the revisions because the whole thing makes terrific sense. I just think that we've been operating in the breach for a while, and the bylaws are talking about delegates in a way that I don't think we've been using them.
Right.
And I think they would be a great idea, but I don't think that's what's been happening.
So what about, do we want to take out anything related to delegates? Is it really necessary? I mean,
I think it'd be healthy for the organization, but it is
I
another.
think so. So here's the thing. So each year, CANA members as a neighborhood association get a application. It's one that's, I think, been recycled since the beginning of time, but it has on there, you know, who the president is and what 3 delegates you want to, appoint. I will tell you right now, 3 delegates have not shown up from every neighborhood association since I've been serving. in CANA.
Ever. Right.
So,
Right.
So, yes, delegates exist. Should we hold it to a majority of delegates? No. I think we should still refer to the delegates, but I think as far as a majority, they're not all going to be on a meeting ever. It's just not happening. So I think, maybe we can just take it out, the whole majority of delegates reference, but keep them in because they do, they're on the application. They are on the list. John's got his hand up.
Actually, it's Helen.
Well,
So I have a question. I mean, what are we going to do as far as voting? Because I think in the past, there's been some issues about, only one person vote per neighborhood association, or you may have 3 people voting from one neighborhood association, nobody from another. So how would that, I mean, I think of I think of the board is kind of being overall in charge, but when it comes to voting on issues, I think you need to have one assigned person per neighborhood association who has a power to vote, rather than having, again, associations where you've got 3 people showing up and some where you've got nobody.
somebody else has a hand up. Who else has a hand up?
I do, Dan.
Yeah.
Just a thing, over the past year, we had a number of votes, or actually the last couple of years, we had a number of votes and they were pretty much confined to the board of directors. So what I just an idea, certain things, basically leaving it to the board to vote for, but certain things we would have basically a caucus, anybody who's there would vote on or have it everybody vote on it or in some way. So maybe if we make a division between the sorts of things that the board would vote on and the sorts of things that would come to an open vote, or something like that. You see what I'm saying?
Not 100%, but
Not making sense. Okay.
On the flip side, Dan, I think I hear what you're saying. You're talking about more executive decision making because people are not attending to the meeting. The other alternative is to really issue, you know, I know you all are working very hard to communicate these, the meeting information, et cetera. And I think perhaps if we did the, even a roll call on the vote, later on, we can say people didn't bother to come. What? You're changing CANA? I can't believe it. I can't believe you're changing CANA. Well, you didn't come to the meeting.
Suggest email.
I have my hand up again, sorry. So part of what Dan's saying is I'm not sure how you would make that distinction about
Right.
what items. And I guess maybe one way around that is to make sure that each board member is in touch with certain neighborhood associations, so that neighborhood associations that may not have somebody on the board will still have a voice.
Right. I'm not talking about restricting democracy here or anything like that.
me
I'm just
either.
saying, as a practical thing, we found over the past year that we had to come up with some decisions really fast. So the votes went out to the board. I voted by email several times on several items I recall. So it's just a practical thing that a lot of stuff could simply be disposed of by the board taking care of it. But obviously major decisions, structural things like this, for example, would have to have some kind of more wider approval. So I'm wondering if maybe we could come up with a set of guidelines for something like that, because we have been voting by just the board, just to get things time expedite, you know, to get things out in time. I know it's kind of difficult to decide what should be what, but if we just kind of generally decided that.
Well, I think we could decide that the board could vote. Again, I just want to make sure that people on the board maybe are assigned certain neighborhood associations. Because again, if we've got 10 members on the board, but we've got 23 neighborhood associations, I don't want people to get lost.
Well, we could change this section here. Except as otherwise prescribed, authorization for CANA to take action must be demonstrated by consensus, either at the board level under certain or special circumstances, or at the CANA-wide level for more larger, more impactful issues, neighbor-wide. I don't know.
That sounds like it would basically say that the board could override. Would be predominant over the
I think if there's an urgent situation that can't wait for another meeting, then you have to act.
Right. I mean, I don't think there's going to be a lot of fancy politics working around the meaning of one word in this thing. I don't think we've gone down to that level yet, so I don't think we really have to worry about that too much. We're mostly concerned about getting things done and getting things continuing to move, that sort of thing.
Okay. Oh, so
honestly, the board, if you have 9 people, a quorum is going to consist of delegates representing 1/3 plus one of the neighborhood associations. So 1/3 of the neighborhood associations is like 7 plus 1 is 8. So if you have a board with 8 members from different neighborhood associations, you're going to have a quorum. You're going to have if your leadership board is actually going to be a quorum for action under the bylaws. That works.
I'm sorry, it's late. So
Zach, you've got a requirement for a quorum that actually defines your board pretty nicely. So if the
Okay.
board's in attendance and there's a
Right.
decision to be made, the quorum is constituted by 1/3 plus one of the neighborhood associations. You said there's 20 neighborhood associations?
About, well,
Right,
Can't-
but if there are 9 people, is gonna be a quorum.
Okay.
yeah,
Does that make sense?
yeah, okay.
Okay, the way it's written right now, that's such a large body, that actually constitutes a quorum to make decisions. You hope it's gonna be more people and you hope that there's been outreach on issues, but basically by the board, by the bylaws right now, the management group, if they're all in attendance, already constitute a quorum for decision making.
It sounds like we have to define quorum here.
No,
That's-
it's defined. That's what I'm saying, Dan. In
But will we
article,
have to,
in
okay.
Article 12, voting, it says a quorum shall consist of delegates representing 1/3 plus
Oh.
one of the neighborhood associations belonging to CANA. So that's
Right.
roughly, 9 plus 1.
Is it safe to assume that there will always be 20 neighborhood associations as members?
No, but I think we're getting pretty
Oh.
darn close. We were thinking we had no criterion at all, and I think what's in the bylaws is pretty darn close to what you have.
But I think if it says, as you read it, does it mean 1/3 of the neighborhood associations plus one,
Yes.
not 1/3 of the board? You're saying it's 1/3 of the board, which is.
No, I'm saying that 1/3 of the neighborhood associations
Would be 9.
delegates, there would be delegates from 1/3 of the neighborhood associations. There already are 9 people on the board who are from different associations.
Yeah, so I feel like what we're saying is that section 1B, oh, don't slide back up yet, Zach. I feel like, I think Pat's right. I think it's fine just the way, I think we should just leave it and I think it's done. Because you're saying section 1B, right? A quorum shall consist of, yeah. I think
Yeah.
Pat's point is, as it's written, actually is pretty darn functional.
That qualifies for decisions at the management committee level.
I disagree because it says 1/3 plus one of the neighborhood associations. So to me, that means 1/3 of the neighborhood associations. So you would have to change it to 1/3 of the board. That would be what Pat's saying.
No, I'm not at all. I'm saying exactly, it's almost, and I'm being a bit imprecise, but if we currently have approximately 20 neighborhood associations, then the quorum shall consist of 1/3 of the 20 people plus one.
Like I said, we have to define.
So it's
this.
enough. I mean, it's enough.
But is it the right number? Is it the right people that are being represented, though? I think that's what Helen's point is.
Well,
Right, right.
you make the board members would have to be delegates from their neighborhood association. Or we're leaving out delegates, one or the other, but either way, I don't think it would be difficult to ask neighborhood associations if this person's gonna volunteer to be part of the CANA management structure. Hopefully, they would have the trust as a delegate of their neighborhood association.
The members of the board are each from a different neighborhood association.
Neighborhood.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
They are, yep.
Right,
Yes,
so if we have people check, if we were still having them list delegates, make sure that either a primary or alternate delegate is one of the members of the management structure, then you have a quorum, you're good.
Would it be helpful to know right now, like for those of us who are signed on to this management structure, should we just throw in the chat which chapter we represent to just see how spread out our representation is? Does that make any kind of sense?
Well, we have, let's see, Tabora's in West Hill, Michelle's in Beverwick, you're in Melrose, Riley's in downtown, Dan's Lincoln Park.
Lincoln Park.
Ray is Eagle Hill, Rob is Delaware area. Maura's Melrose. So,
Hey, Zach, I am not officially a delegate of the Eagle Hill Neighborhood Association because the association is defunct.
Yeah, it hasn't met in quite some time. I am aware of that. Yes, yes.
Well, I don't think any of us really have that formal delegate badge, right? Is there
Yeah,
anybody
that-
who goes to a neighborhood association where it's been formally?
Right, no, I
Yeah,
I
I
think
have.
that's pretty easily remedied, though, if you talk with the people who are leading your neighborhood association, I think.
If there is a leader.
Right.
right.
But Ray, I mean, I feel like, don't you feel like you pretty much count?
Thank you. It's nice to know.
I see you as a fully valid human being and representative of Eagle Hills.
Hi, Amy.
Hi there.
Zach, thank you for entertaining my question, but I hope that my having run us through the pages tell us that the document you prepared really does satisfy what's being asked for.
Did anybody else have any ideas for amendments or?
I did want to clarify one thing. If there's a meeting where all the board's present, plus 3 or 4 people from neighborhood associations different from those of the board, then the vote is by 13 people, not 9 people, right? Yeah, okay,
I would say, yeah.
yeah.
I think that's CANA culture, I hope.
Mhm.
But again, I would want to somehow be clear that you don't have 3 people voting from one neighborhood and nobody voting, yeah.
Well, you could actually have, you could have any 3, you could have 3 delegates, and that's just because the other neighborhood did not send anybody there. That's
Right.
That's up to the neighborhood.
Well, what counts in a vote, though, would be the neighborhood association, not each delegate at the meeting. In other words, if a neighborhood association has 2 delegates at the meeting, they don't get 2 votes.
I think it does if you go back, if you
Oh.
say voting. It's
Alright.
the
Who's at the meeting, yeah.
I forgot the term, but
What for the
yeah, what's the word there that defines the people?
Duly authorized.
Delegates. It says delegates.
Demonstrated by consensus. Vote of the delegates at a meeting with a quorum present. A quorum is defined as 2/3 or more of the delegates favoring a proposition. So the vote would be of delegates. It would be the board and anybody else who's there if you're taking a general vote. And then every neighborhood would be entitled to 3 delegates. If they don't use them, they don't use them.
that's true. All right, any other comments on the bylaws? Okay, all right.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sure. Thanks, everybody for coming tonight. At the last meeting, I went through that Excel spreadsheet of the duties for members of the potentially new management board. Did anybody have any questions about the list at this point? I did want to have a meeting of between the 9 of us, those who want to serve on the management board, and kind of go more into detail line by line and talk about all that's involved with each of those items. So
Can I ask
Did
a quick,
anybody-
Zach?
go ahead, Maura.
Is there anybody here who has not signed up to be on that little executive board that would like to be on it? Don't do it. It's going to be a good time.
It's worth asking.
Gonna serve cookies?
Oh, I'm sorry.
You still.
Gotta serve cookies. Virtual cookies.
Oh, that's not good enough.
Well, we'll be back in person, right? Eventually.
I will personally volunteer if people want to join on the first time we're in person. I will personally volunteer to bring cookies. All right, I just thought it was worth asking. Because okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna stop talking now.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say that I'm gonna be sending out an email and hopefully we can coordinate a time to have a meeting between now and the next meeting in March 1st, just to kind of really kind of go through each line by line and try to answer any questions everybody has.
So Zach, did the list of duties scare away the person who changed their mind? You guys do so much. You really do so much.
You can do what you can do. And, I just don't think it was, something that we wanted to take on at this time. So,
Yeah, I was really just joking. Because as you read it, you realize what a big job it is.
yeah.
But hopefully many hands will make light work.
But as you start really looking into it, it's not too bad. As long as you have, a few hands to help, I think it's going to work fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know what, it's the amount of work for an unpaid position that you were doing, Zach, it just wasn't tenable. But I also would think that, I'm just gonna throw this out for thought that, maybe what we should be doing is, putting it out to people, like, what is it that you want out of this neighborhood out of CANA? Like, what do people want out of it? Because maybe, I don't know. To me, it just feels like now is a really good time to ask that question of the general membership.
Well, I know there are a lot of veterans here, but I think one of the things that happens is when there's a challenge in the city, CANA is a name that's recognized where people stand together. Or when there's, a big question, neighborhoods can go back to each other and have a meeting of the minds.
I think one thing that I would like to see this organization do a little bit more of is support the individual neighborhood associations, because I know that some groups are really strong and have a very active membership, and others struggle a little bit. And I know our group is struggling a little bit, but at the same time, I felt very comfortable reaching out to Zach, for a little bit of help. I spoke with Katina, I think, from Melrose last week, and you know what I mean? But it's nice to get an exchange of ideas between the organizations, I think, too, just to get some look at things in a different manner. And that's not spelled out in here, but I think that would be, and maybe it doesn't need to be because it just happens a little bit informally, but
I think there is something in that. It was refreshing to read, but I think there is something in there that says, CANA's designed to encourage neighborhood activity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
One thing I've done a lot is I've gone to different neighborhood association meetings, as much as I possibly can, just to kind of cross-pollinate, what's going on at the neighborhood level with what we're doing here more citywide. I think that's a good thing, is to have a CANA representative to try to make most of the neighborhood association meetings, just so we keep having a presence and people are aware of us, and we can share information.
I love that idea.
Yeah, it's good.
And I think that, I just feel as if, I think one of the things we're kind of grappling with post-pandemic is that a lot of that, some of that face-to-face stuff has been lost. And I think for the time being, it absolutely makes sense to stay on Zoom, because the hybrid thing is a nightmare. And I feel like the rest of the winter, we're not done with the flu and blah, blah, blah. But But I do feel like, you know, I think there's something to be said for just maybe, you know, having a meeting, or even more than one meeting, where it's just like, let's just get together and have a conversation. Like, let's just introduce ourselves, you know, talk about what our various involvements are. I mean, maybe we just need to do some community building within the sort of most involved membership of CANA.
I think one of my favorite meetings that have been for CANA was the neighborhood go-arounds that have, and I think that sort of served that purpose in a way too, you know, just to hear what other folks are doing.
Mm-hmm. One thing we did a few years ago, and again pre-COVID, was we did walks. You know, like we did Colin did a walk in the Mansion neighborhood. John and I did one in the West End. Like, we set aside about an hour, but that was really cool because you weren't just hearing it, but seeing it. And also just, I mean, fascinating with some of the history, and really just learning more about it. So again, I know people's schedules and COVID have been a nightmare, but I really enjoyed that. I can't remember the other neighborhoods that did it, but it really was a nice experience.
I love that idea.
I think that, you know, and Zach, you know, you've done 50 years worth of contributions in the time that you've been involved in this neighborhood associations, but so I'm not saying you're the one that should spearhead it, but I think those, you know, those pop-up cleanups are cool. And maybe we could do, you know, when the Riverkeeper cleanup comes up, and I know, Zach, you've led those before, but maybe we should have like a CANA group go and do that Riverkeeper thing, or, you know.
So I think the river sweep is on May 6th this year, and I'm out of town. but we could we can certainly coordinate a CANA cleanup, you know, some area of the city. You know, we could certainly put a pop-up cleanup of some sorts. We could do several of them, actually.
Yeah. Just as a way of getting different members. I'm sorry, Tabora.
I apologize. Yes, there are other organizations that CANA could partner with to make that happen. That way it's not so much on Zach with organizations, or, you know, trying to make sure you plan everything out. I would really like to know what, you know, that would look like for Mara when you say we can get out and kind of engage people. Or was that Helen? Helen, was that you that said we can kind of get out and take some walks?
Yeah, we've done it before. And also, if anyone's interested, I'm doing walks at Tivoli Preserve every Wednesday and Saturday at 10 o'clock. So,
yeah,
that would be great.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, we kind of just set up a schedule of like one Saturday at 10 o'clock. We met and did, you know, I can't even remember how the schedule came about, but we did do some walks around neighborhoods that was really, and again, that I think that just came from people volunteering and throwing out dates at CANA meetings.
Yeah, that might
just like sort of. Oh, I'm sorry, Tabora.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. I think that's just something that a lot of people right now are looking for. I know we kind of fearful with COVID and the flu, but a lot of people, especially like the neighborhoods, certain neighborhoods that aren't really strong through the neighborhood associations, or, you know, just through Zoom, a lot of neighborhoods, especially the neighborhood that I represent, most people, you know, they prefer that in touch invite as to, you know, us sending an email out and then the email get lost all up in the shuffle of things. So I think it's probably important that we can probably start even having events where we tabling and just letting people know that we have, you know, CANA back running in full effect. And then other neighborhood associations, we also support those neighborhoods that aren't so strong with being able to get people aware of the neighborhood associations and talking with folks in that capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Another resource is the university. Some of you may have seen Luke Rumsey at various meetings. Right? Luke and the police department and the codes department have walks quite often, where they go around looking for code violations. And they have, the university and the fraternity groups have cleanup events scheduled throughout the year. It would be good to have a closer working relationship with Luke and university people.
Plus, we could also coordinate with the new recruits for the Albany Police Department. They've helped in the past with cleaning up in the neighborhood, so that's another.
You know, another thought could be, Zach, I know you arranged for that young man from SUNY to come and talk about the weatherization efforts, and that, you know, and I actually happen to be talking to Dan on the Sustainability Council. And I feel like, you know, maybe that's something, you know, because I think what we're all saying is what we want is like hands-on ways for us to add to communities and feel more connected to one another, right? Like that seems like the big picture here. And it almost seems like whatever it is that we do that accomplishes those two things are all going to be to the good. And I'm wondering, you know, like one example might be to connect with those SUNY kids, you know, and use some CANA folks to connect with, you know, Tabora, as you said, maybe some neighborhoods that aren't, you know, they're not big Zoomers, but, you know, they might be open to, you know, here's some CANA folks and some SUNY kids, and we're here to help out with weatherization, like those kinds of things. I know it sounds like a big thing, but I feel like CANA is this amazing, you know, growth opportunity here.
It might be helpful if we, because there are things going on in the city, and if we, you know, like it never occurred to me to put into CANA Facebook about the Tivoli walks, but if we could all try to, you know, if we hear about things, stick it in the Facebook. I mean, because there are things going on that aren't widely communicated. There's always things going on, like different, you know, different groups are doing their own thing. But if we could put it in the Facebook, that might be a way to offer volunteer opportunities to everybody in CANA.
Yeah, and to attach CANA's name to those folks
Absolutely.
that volunteer.
Yeah.
So I think there's a huge potential there.
So does the membership group, and you don't have to put it on your name tag yet, but hopefully you will next time, a management group, but you think we're giving you enough to work on?
I say start with one thing and, you know, watch it, but we don't have to eat the whole elephant, you know, like let's take a bite.
Yep, but y'all have to get together for a meeting, right?
Yes, Pat, I'm feeling, can we put it to do we have a quorum here to vote on whether Pat should join the management board? Because it seems like
no, she will decline. She has been your vice president in the past. She's done her time. Thank you.
A lot of pressure to work though, Pat, huh?
I appreciate the vote of confidence. Some of you know I've had a stroke and I do have a hard time with energy sometimes.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah.
Anybody have anything else to add tonight?
Do we have I'm thinking, Zach, are you a Ioana?
Yep.
For the management group, I'm thinking about who's on it. Okay, cool.
Hey, Helen, are dogs allowed on that Tivoli walk?
Excuse me?
Are dogs allowed on the Tivoli walk?
Well, keep them on a leash.
Okay.
But yes.
Sure, my dog would love it too.
Yeah.
There's bags there.
I'm going to leave these big policy matters to the management group, but the Tivoli walk really does seem like it struck a spark for us, Helen. Thank you.
Well, but you said it did or it didn't?
It did. Oh, it did. Definitely did. Is there other business that we're all going to need to tend to? Do you need us for anything else?
Well, can I just throw one quick question and then I promise I'll stop. is that, are you guys, I was recently in another organization I was introduced to, through that organization, I was introduced to Otter AI. And basically it's, it's just like a transcription service where it just takes the minutes for you. And I don't know whether that's something people are comfortable with, but I wanted to throw it out as something to make sure people didn't have objections to, because I think going forward, it might be worth doing.
Well, when we have our meetings, they are recorded and there's.
Right, so why not use Otter AI, and then we'd have the a written transcript too.
You can transcribe with Zoom apparently, so I don't have an issue with it.
Why do you need minutes?
I think it's good.
Nice question.
I think we've had them for 46 years. I have almost every copy of them, by the way.
We had them
I
until
think
I
it's-
started taking them, and then I had a couple. I had definitely dropped the ball here and there. So it
It's
turns out I'm
almost-
terrible at taking minutes.
It's almost a complete record.
Almost a complete record until I got involved. That's
Oh,
when the wheels
not just
fell off
you,
the bus.
Maura. Not just you, Maura. So Amy. Want to unmute yourself, Amy?
Technologically deficient Amy,
That's
here she
okay.
is. Hi. I couldn't even get my picture up, so you know I wasn't a figment
Hey,
of
Amy.
somebody's imagination. So I'm sure that on this group, there are people who are part of the South End Community Collaborative. Maybe Dan and some other people that I don't know. But it just occurred to me that this whole issue of that has received some press of Hudson Valley having a satellite facility in the South End is obviously of concern to CANA. And I'm wondering if there are people who perhaps who are more live in that area and maybe more involved with the South End Community Collaborative, which is a very, very big group. I listen in on their meetings, which are usually have been Tuesday mornings. Could keep us up to speed and have insight into that on a regular basis. I think it sounds like the issue is certainly not a done deal, and there are things that have occurred that have not been actually approved by the people who live there in terms of process. So just as a suggestion for an update on a regular basis, Zach?
Yeah, I tried to go to some of them early on, but unfortunately Tuesdays at 9 a.m. is prime time.
It's hard, but they do Zoom. I've been attending some in my bathrobe, but
Yeah. Yeah, 9 a.m. on Tuesday, just can't do
Yeah.
it. That's a rough day.
And maybe if someone from the CANA group can be present and just bring the information back to the group as to what's happening, keeping it, because I know that's one that I kind of been following.
yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking of, is that even attending the collaborative and whatever other meetings, but to bring back on a regular basis, because it sounds like it's a very, really big and somewhat controversial issue about what happens.
I go to most of those meetings. I'm not going to commit myself to go to every one, so I have a report on every one. But I'll do what I can.
Are there,
there
I
were
was
two
just gonna, are there fine points that you should tell us tonight?
Thank you. I wanted to respond to Amy. They got to take down a couple of extremely high buildings before anything gets done. So at the meeting where they just discussed it, there were some hard questions for the president of HVCC. He answered most of them with, it's really very early to say, exactly what we're going to do. But the fact that he's come here this early, I think means that he's going to be listening.
Well, there's a lot of funding on the line about it, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
And overall, exactly, who is to be held accountable for this, not only the process, but the end result. And so I think there are a lot more facts that need to be answered in this process. And I'm only really read the Times-Union to get my information.
I do too, and I did just see that they're going to sell the Sunshine School.
That's another issue. It's interesting. The district wants to get rid of properties that are apparently they still have to take care of, but are non-productive and not part of the current thing. So
you think all about Lincoln Park. Mm-hmm.
Yes, right. But the larger issue is this. I mean, this is a big investment by HVCC, but is there, like long-term, what's this going to mean? And do they have a good track record in doing this too?
It's partly an investment by HVCC and partly an investment of the funds from the city, right?
As I understand it, yes. Yeah. Somebody's shaking her head whose name I don't know over here. Deborah, hi. Do you have more information you can share now?
Let me unmute. So for me, following it seems as if the Albany Housing Authority and other partners are the key players around this particular project. I know they went before council to pass on a vote for grant funding, because that was one of the bigger issues. They were trying to push the time frame around whether or not they could get in front of council for about $3 million to be allocated for the demolition, with the process of them coming up with $3 more million for the demolition, and then another $60 million for the actual project. But there's a lot of key partners that are playing in place. It's just Hudson Valley right now is what's at the forefront, because it's around education. So that I believe that's one of the biggest key partners.
Right.
Since Dan lives right near there, I was wondering if Dan has any points to make concerning that development.
No, nothing new that hasn't been said yet. That's been said. The only thing I would add is the thing about the I think I laid all this out on Facebook, if anybody bothered to read it or happened to catch it. Is that the city made a lot of promises years ago about what would happen on that property once they found the money to tear down the towers. And they talked about restoring the old historic streets and putting 2- and 3-story housing, basically creating affordable income housing. And that seems to have just been forgotten completely. Originally they wanted to they wanted to add some land to the college. That was part of the deal. But now they're talking about using the whole thing, as I understand. For that reason, the Common Council member Derek Johnson is totally against all the plan. He was against the applying for the grant and everything. So this could get pretty contentious. It could turn into quite a fight.
Is it, I know nothing about this. Is it the buildings that they're talking about tearing down, are they currently housing, or what are they?
So
I think, I think they're empty, aren't they?
Yeah, they just got totally empty, yeah.
Okay.
Are they
Because there's a little.
Are they totally empty, or just, I thought one was occupied and was about to be empty?
As I recall, the Times Union said the last person moved out like a couple of days ago.
Oh, yeah, a couple of days ago, right. So, I mean, nobody's been talking about where these people have been placed, but maybe it's not that that's irrelevant, but the issue, it's a big chunk of land.
Yep.
And
I guess my one question is, I definitely feel like, the housing is definitely an issue, and I know nothing about this. So I'm really speaking from a position of ignorance, but I guess it does seem like if the idea is in part to make a community college experience more accessible to people on this side of the river, then I mean, that my gut reaction is, well, that could be pretty cool, because we definitely need, to the degree that the Hudson Valley is educating, particularly young people in the trades. I mean, we need that. Is it a terrible thing? I'm just.
Could I suggest that maybe we put this on the agenda? Because
Right.
there's somebody, because it's just, there's a lot of speculation going on.
Exactly. That's what I was suggesting, is that this.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just was feeling like we could get lost in the weeds very easily.
Agree.
So maybe we could put it on the agenda with somebody, get in touch with somebody who is more in the know.
I mean, maybe
Well, that's kind of the problem right now. Nobody really
There
knows
is no
what's
no.
going on. Yeah, right.
But I wonder whether, for the next meeting, does it make, because this is, I feel like, yay, CANA, we're having this great conversation. It seems like this is a good thing to have. Is there a possibility, I mean, even to the degree, I mean, there's some stuff that's known, right? I mean, there's a map that says, here is the proposed, here's where the two buildings are, I mean, does it make sense to maybe put that? I agree. I think, can we make that a formal agenda item for the next meeting?
Yeah, maybe we can get a speaker from the project. There were 3 people who showed up, 2 from HVCC and 1 from Educational Opportunity Center. And they're very much a part of it also. The whole point of it is workforce training. That's the big thing. Anybody else? I could see if one of them could come as a speaker for us.
Yeah. I mean, from our last meeting, it was clear that everything was asked was kind of premature. That was a lot of the conversation. They were still in the process of figuring things out. They don't really know. So that was what I took from the meeting. Even hearing the president of Hudson Valley, there are so many things that were just unclear. A lot of the residents were, who are having issues with what we're dealing with currently now at Albany High, even with our kids' graduation rate, or there's a lot of conversations that a lot of the residents in the South End have that just there's really no conversation or anything that can be hard facts provided to people in the community that they want to know, statistics, understanding bringing a community college into a neighborhood that may need it. Is that the need of the community? Is that what the community says their need is? So I think there's a lot of conversations that people kind of missed out on 15 years ago when this conversation was being had, and then everything just went blank. And now we come back into the process of having a conversation and everything has changed, because again, Dan, the conversation a few years ago, as I was remembering, there were conversations about affordable housing, being in that particular conversation. And then when it was brung back up, it was like, so there's no affordable housing nowhere in the project. And it kind of have a lot of people more, confused than anything, because, looking at the rate of Hudson Valley and Troy, talking about the sign-on rate, it has dropped tremendously. The president said that wasn't true, but if you do a little research, you may find out that it has some truth to that conversation, because a lot of kids are using virtual learning right now. So, I'm sorry, go ahead, Miss Amy.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just was raising my hand when you're through, let me know.
I'm just ranting a little bit.
No, I'm glad to hear it. I just wanted to make sure before Zach cuts me out and blanks me out that I didn't have. Is it okay if I say something now?
Yeah.
Okay. The only reason I bring this up is that, again, I'm using the Times Union as my sole resource of information, is that in the context of the articles that have been written about this, there has been expressed concern that the same goals and for job development and work training occurred when Trinity Institute built, I think with funding, outside funding on Morton Avenue, the center, which is there right behind the Lincoln Park buildings. And there was a lot going on, a lot of community support and everything. This is around 2015, 16 or so. And apparently, and I only know this by hearsay, what I read in the paper again, and also listening from the community collaborative concerns, is that has not materialized. Now, whether the job market has changed, whether I mean, there's a lot of factors that have to be explored before you say it's one thing or the other. But the concern about this new project is another big scale thing set down in a community where maybe the end result that's being promised is not feasible. That's the only reason I think that CANA should be looking at this or being aware of it, like it's a concern for our city as a whole. That's all I'm going to say.
So I know that somebody made the excellent point or Helen, maybe that we should table this till the next meeting because we could be talking all night. But
yes,
my question would be, Tabora, because let me ask you this, if say CANA were to host a discussion about this, who would be, do you think, a good person for CANA to invite to sort of represent, maybe a viewpoint from the people who actually live there? Like who would be that person? I'm coming at this as someone who knows nothing about the subject.
Can I jump in there on that one? That is the number one issue, is that people in the neighborhood have not been included in the conversation. And that's what is really being complained about right now. Somehow the city has got to come up with a way to include in the conversation. And the general feeling is that the city has been trying to exclude the neighborhood. That I keep hearing that over and over from people, not just from from both neighborhood activists and such, but also just regular folks. And this is kind of an ongoing issue. It kind of goes back to in recent times, there's been a lot of decisions made by the city with the putting it in the basketball court. That turned into a big fiasco because people were really angry about that, how that went about. The stuff about replacing the pool, there's a lot of anger over that because it seems the city wants one thing and people are like, hey, we want something else. So it's coming to a head over this, that there's people want to be involved in this and they don't seem to be involved. So that's the issue. So it's hard to say. If you find, you could ask somebody, well, you get Derek Johnson, he'll tell you why the whole thing should be thrown out. You ask Danielle Hilley, you can ask her, and she'll tell you, whatever her viewpoint is. I think she doesn't want to see the college there at all, is the idea I'm getting from her. So right now people are taking sides, and it'd be really, I don't offhand, I can't think of anybody who has a really good overview of the thing. So we like I said, we're at a stage where nobody knows anything. And I think that includes the city. The city has plans, but we don't really know what they are.
And Dan, at least unlike Amy, I read it from the newspaper, but the claim for haste was that if they moved hastily, they would be able to access funding, and therefore, we don't mean anything by it. We're just trying to, get resources. That's the way I read it. And we've heard that kind of reasoning before.
Yeah,
I've heard I'm just sitting watching Steve Longo all those years. I noticed that there's these things. There's a time thing. You have to get the funding. You have to get the thing done. You have to do these things on the schedule, or else it all falls apart. And that's what they're trying to do. On the other hand, they might just be like pushing it through so people don't get to be participating. Seems to be that aren't there state laws that say you have to have meetings? I believe that, and I don't see them happening here.
Is there a South End Neighborhood Association that's active?
Yes.
And we're in place. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So
There's the South End, and of course our Lincoln Park here. We're kind of inactive, tell you the
The
truth,
South
since the
End,
pandemic.
The village, a lot of movers and shakers from the South End were at the meeting where the HVCC guy was. So
Yes, yeah.
if nothing's going on, about 20 important and active people are aware of it. So I think,
Well, can you think of anybody who could give a good overview of that out of that group?
you know, to tell you the truth, Derek Johnson would be good to have a debate with some of the people.
Right.
They wrote,
Well,
yeah.
Deborah, what were you gonna say?
Just the group itself, it was more like a lot of the people who were at that group were like key partners. As from my, me being someone who just, because I'm West Hill, but looking at the group and seeing the individuals that were a part of the group, there really was no, like you seen like the organizational, functional folks on the group that were from different organizations. There were really no just residents, someone who just occupies, rent. There was no, so I think what most
What about
people
the
are.
South End Neighborhood Association? I forgot Emily, or not Emily,
Joanne
Joanne-
Morton?
Joanne Morton, and maybe Joanne could be a person who could suggest. She's always, to me, seemed like she has a handle on things that are going on. Maybe she could be helpful in selecting or suggesting someone or several people with different points of view. I mean, I like the idea of this, of Derek, because he's opposed to it. I mean, I want to hear, why is he opposed? And on the other hand, I want to hear somebody who's very much in
Opposed.
favor. I want to hear all these opinions.
Well, as you
Yeah.
began, Amy, though, it might even be interesting to hear how the neighborhood association is getting a headache from it at this point, because I think that's probably the accurate place of where the plan stands. The editorial that I stuck in the chat ends with saying, this is one more time where we can take advantage and have the neighborhood be involved in this planning. And it doesn't seem like that's happening again. So
are we tabling this conversation?
No,
Probably
I
a
hope
good
we
idea.
can at least get the neighborhood association to come and talk with us, and even more elaborate than that, if the other people, all want to come and address CANA. But
I mean,
in the
it's not a fait accompli. It's going to be going on for a period of time. And it seems to me it would affect all of us in the city.
Yep. But I'm thinking if there's somebody on the scene that could at least give us a view
Yeah.
from there, that would be great.
Exactly.
And who would that be?
The person
Yet
that
to be
they just
identified.
mentioned.
Let's
Well,
see.
the neighborhood association representative.
And the council member, correct? Did someone say invite Derek Johnson?
Yeah.
Yes.
that's what it said there.
Okay,
Would he be willing to come, or?
we
Probably.
can ask.
Probably.
And who is the head of the neighborhood association?
Joanne.
Joanne
Oh,
Morton
yeah.
down there, but down the south end, it's Joanne Morton down there. And up here, I guess it's me.
Well, and Dan, you would be here anyway at the next meeting,
Yeah,
right?
I would be
So
happy.
are we saying that maybe we want to and see if Derek Johnson is available for that next meeting? And just, I don't know that it needs to be anything, as Amy said, I think that, let's just, you got to start somewhere.
Well, just bear in mind that he's going to have Derek Johnson's going to have one viewpoint on this.
Exactly.
He's against it. But one thing I would add is it's really about time we brought the South End Neighborhood Association into CANA, and this would be an opportunity to bring them in. Only on a few rare occasions have they sent a delegate over the years, and they have a pretty vibrant and active organization down there. So it's really time they became part of CANA. So
And
this
that's
would
like-
be an opportunity.
That's why I was suggesting that we hear from them first,
Sure.
but certainly it's the will of the
Yeah.
body.
Yeah, I mean, maybe give them the whole forum time, whatever time you're going to allocate, half an hour, 45 minutes as a program piece, maybe somebody from them and then on subsequent occasions, we can have others because it's going to take time for this to
Well,
evolve.
And it is the home team. I mean, if the neighborhood association
Yes,
says,
exactly.
you know, here's how you can put your shoulder to the wheel with us, I would prefer to hear from them before, you know, the partisans are fighting it out on a stage at CANA.
So can we just see a quick show of hands? How many people are happy? I like the idea of inviting the neighborhood association to come and present to us.
The South End Neighborhood Association.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Talk to
And-
Joanne Morton. Yeah.
And then, Dan, do you know Joanne Morton?
Sure.
Is
You want
that,
me to contact her? Okay. I
yeah,
can do that.
can you do that?
Yeah.
Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
what exactly am I asking her? Is she, because I'm asking her to if she can if she could present, or if she could recommend
Yeah.
one or more persons to do a presentation, something like that.
I would hope that we could say, you know, that all of the people at CANA were wondering about this, and we're hoping that our colleague would come and give us the view from where she sits.
Okay. Okay. I'll contact her the next day or so. Okay.
Michelle, did you want to say something? Oh, your hand was up with it, maybe.
I just want to say that, you know, next meeting, we have to, you know, adopt the amendments to the bylaws, and we have to have our election. So as far as the time for this, it may have to be after those items up front, just to make sure that gets out of the
Sure.
way. We can spend whatever time on talking about that project.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think those items will take all that long.
I don't think it'll take all that long, and hopefully it will send people out a little jazzed up, even if it's giving them agita.
And maybe we can each within our neighborhood associations really kind of promote that next meeting too. So that when the South End folks get here, they feel like, you know, we've given them an audience.
Technically, the next meeting isn't a reorganizational meeting. It's a real go live normal meeting, because we're
And that's
having
what date? March 1st?
March 1st. Yeah.
You mean it's not a Zoom meeting?
No, it's a Zoom, but
Oh, okay.
so for January and February, we had these two reorganizational meetings where
Oh,
we
right.
looked for a
Okay.
new way to restructure. So March 1st will be, you know, the official meeting.
Mhm.
Okay.
That's everybody's voted in.
And you said in the beginning of the meeting, we'll go through the organizational part and then bring in,
So for the meeting, I think, you know, Albany Police will do their update, then we can do the bylaw amendment. We'll adopt them, and then we'll do our election, you know, slate of candidates. And then we can do the update on the project.
okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you all. It was good to see you, neighbors.
Oh, just one, you know, just one thing. We did lose a friend of CANA, Bill Law, the Mount Hope Neighborhood Association president. He did pass away recently.
Oh, dear.
Wanted to share that very sad news.
Oh, dear. Okay.
I believe he was involved with that neighborhood association since the 70s. So
Oh.
So I know we have leadership in flux, but can we send a sympathy note
Something
from
to 'em.
CANA?
Mhm.
you know, I'm actually gonna be at their meeting the 16th, but I can reach out and see if he has a family contact to send a card to him.
Thank you. I mean, especially
Thank
if he has, you know, he
Serve like that.
was an official part of us. Thank you very much for letting us know.
Mm.
Yeah.
Stay warm, neighbors. And,
All right.
too.
you know, 9:45, if you want to go out and see the comet, it's going to be just a little blurry spot, just a little blurry spot.
What
Gotta
part
get
of
your
the sky?
telescopes.
It's
What part of the sky is it?
They were talking about being between the dippers. That's what I was looking for the citation of. It's up in the sky. It should be readily. But the information about where it is in the stars, it's a pretty obvious place, I think. But I wasn't able to find it while we started talking quickly. Take
I don't want to
care,
spend too
everybody.
much time out there. That's why. It's pretty
Neither do
boring.
I. Better tonight than tomorrow.
Yeah.
Good night,
All right,
folks.
bye, everybody. Thanks for sending
Have a
us
good
out.
night, everyone.
See you
Bye.
soon.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Zach.